Joining me, Kevin Green, to take a look at the options situation this week with Jerome Powell, inflation and earnings. Is that all going to take a back seat to the market maker positioning? KG, what are you looking at?
You know, Oliver, this week kind of is similar to how we started off last week. The market's really kind of positioned for a little bit of compression to start the week here as we have some of those big economic data points. And so when you're kind of looking at it from an open interest standpoint, we are actually starting to see a little bit of an uptick when it comes to downside protection. Last week, especially on Friday, as we had the options expiration, we actually had a histogram chart that just did not have any type of downside type of activity at all. And now we're actually starting to see that being reflected, especially in the 55-45 puts there. That's going to be a key area to kind of focus on for this week. And we actually saw a lot of institutions moving up those put positions to the upside, which is once again bullish, but also kind of allows them to give a little bit more delta here just in case we do see a sharp reaction to the downside, really post Powell. This is actually something that was new that did actually show up on Friday. And so let's see how that's going to be able to react. And then on to the upside here, a little bit of pressure at the 55-85 level. And then the real big target for this week, which is kind of a chip shot, if you will, but around the 5600 level. That even number has a lot of gamma levels or gamma positioning sitting at that level right now. And so if we're actually able to hit that and actually break through, it can kind of have that same type of reaction that we saw last week where the market continued to melt up. But once again, starting off the week, very compressed when you're looking at a lot of these dealer levels here. Man, you got a market that has some fairly low volume pretty much across the board. And so we're really just waiting for either just a trendy market to the upside or downside. Any type of break to the downside levels could also kind of create a little bit of a catalyst for continued movement to the downside. It's just right now just not in the cards.
Am I crazy, or do these levels look a little bit more squished together than usual, like a pretty tight range?
Yes, they're very compressed, even more so than what we saw last week, to the point that it's only around a 25-point difference pretty much between the lower level and that upper level that we have, that lower level in red, the upper level in green, and you kind of have a little bit of a slice in between. So that's really kind of how we're managing this right now, and rightfully so. We had a really nice market last week where pretty much every single day as we continue to make gains, we had institutions really rolling up and rolling up. They just were not really rolling up the put side or the downside protection. Now we're starting to see that. So yes, a very compressed market to start off, but that doesn't mean that we have to actually range at this level or at these levels for a very long time. It just means that that's how we are positioned, at least to start the week. I'm sure that probably once we get to Thursday and that CPI print, we'll probably start seeing some of this stuff starting to widen out, giving a little bit more room and more space for the market. What this really signifies right now, Oliver, is that these dealers, when they have these kind of moves to the upside, they're selling the rips. So they're selling at those resistance levels and then buying at the dips. We actually saw it on an intraday basis here if we're looking at the volume, where we actually had some buyers kind of stepping in at the 54-65-ish level. And so we might just have that type of action here as we kind of await some of this bigger data and some of these bigger macroeconomic events that are going to be taking place.
Okay. So it seems then, even though they're, dealers are applying pressure at both those sides to kind of keep the market contained, when the levels are all pretty tight, it does seem just, mathematically kind of increases the chances of a big move, because if the market makers are expecting kind of a tight range and pressuring that way, then smaller moves could create some volatility, basically. Because you don't have as much breathing. They don't have as much breathing room, right? They'll kind of have to start chasing their tail at closer levels than usual.
Yeah, if we have volume coming into this market. Now, if we continue to have light volume, then they can continue to keep this very compressed in the meantime. Now, once again, you have some fundamental catalysts that can actually kind of create volatility, create volume in this market. And so, yes, that's where you kind of get that trending market. But for right now, as it sits right now, the dealers are kind of in control when it comes to trying to manage this market. And that's what we might see going into the close here. We have, once again, a lot of activity sitting at the 55-75 level when you're looking at the calls. This is just for the volume for today. And on the put side, looking at 55-60. And once again, not that much of a range there to be able to try to have this melt up or melt down type of scenario. And unless we get a big sector like communication services or even technology or semiconductors to kind of really lead the way here for the next 30 minutes, it seems like we might be at a balance level. And the balance level for today, if you're kind of looking at that pin risk action, is going to be at 55.70. That's really that balance level where dealers are kind of neutral when you're looking at it from a volume standpoint.
Okay. All right, nice. Tight ranges here, but it's a full week, no holiday, so maybe some of the volume will pick up, you know. We got no holiday this week. It was a couple weeks there where we had nice little interjections. All right, appreciate it, KG. Good stuff as always. Thank you, sir. Nice preview for the week here on Levels